If you think she'll remember you because of the messages you sent, you're already chasing a fading illusion. She won't remember the long paragraphs, the explanations, or the desperate attempts to make her see your side. Those words, once overflowing with emotion, now dissolve in the silence between you. What she remembers isn't the text you wrote at 2 a.m., it's the way you made her feel when she was with you, the moments of connection, the spark, the energy that didn't need words to exist. Because feelings don't live inside messages, they live in presence, energy, and emotion. And when that energy changes, no amount of typing can bring it back. You can't talk her into remembering what she no longer feels. Words can't rebuild attraction, only transformation can. This isn't a game, and it isn't manipulation. It's growth. It's about becoming the man she can't erase even when she tries. The man whose silence says more than his explanations ever could. You see, after she's gone, everything you do becomes a reflection of who you really are without her. Your actions, your stillness, your focus, all of it will either confirm her decision or make her question it. That's why this moment matters more than any message you could send. You have two choices: chase the memory that's already fading or evolve into the man who commands remembrance without effort. Because what she remembers won't be the man who begged, explained, or pleaded. She'll remember the man who stood still in his power, who didn't crumble when she walked away. The man whose silence carried a mystery that words could never touch. In the end, it's not your apologies that linger in her mind, it's your energy. And when your energy grows stronger than her memory, that's when she truly begins to remember. The moment she walks away, most men start explaining. They scramble for words, searching for ways to make her understand how much they cared, how much they tried, how much they've changed. They write long messages hoping to soften her heart, to remind her of what was lost, to convince her that they were never the problem. But what they don't see is that every explanation is an attempt to control her perception. It's a subtle way of saying, please see me the way I want to be seen. Yet the more you try to control someone's view of you, the more you reveal that you've lost control of yourself. She doesn't need your reasoning, she needs contrast. She needs to feel what happens when your energy, your attention, and your validation are no longer available to her. When you stop explaining, you shift the dynamic. You stop begging for understanding and start embodying change. Because silence, when rooted in self-respect, speaks louder than any apology ever could. It says, I've accepted what is, and I'm moving forward. That's the kind of energy that commands attention without asking for it. Instead of saying you've evolved, let your evolution show. Let your silence be the proof that you're not the same man she left. No arguments, no closure conversations, no emotional negotiations, just peace. The power of silence is that it leaves space for reflection. She'll start wondering why you're not chasing, why you've stopped trying to convince her. That uncertainty plants the seed of curiosity, and curiosity brings her mind back to you. When your silence grows stronger than your voice, when your calm presence replaces the chaos of reaction, she begins to feel the shift. That's when she starts noticing the difference, because evolution doesn't speak, it radiates. You built her into your routine so deeply that everything now feels slightly off without her. Her name became part of your day, woven into your mornings, your nights, your thoughts, even your silence. You checked her stories, scrolled through old pictures, replayed her words, hoping to feel something familiar again. But what you didn't realize is that every time you did that, you were giving her your energy. You were feeding her power even in her absence. She doesn't need to know you're still thinking about her, she can feel it. Energy doesn't need a text or a call to travel, it moves through intention, attention, and emotion. Now it's time to take that energy back. You do it not by fighting the urge to think of her, but by redirecting that focus toward yourself. Every time you stop yourself from checking her page, from imagining her next move, from typing her name into your search bar, you reclaim a little more of your own power. The moment you pull your energy inward, something shifts. Your mind starts to clear, the noise quiets, and you begin to rebuild your center. You'll notice that your thoughts don't spin as much, that your emotions feel steadier, that your body feels lighter. This is the energy of return, the return to yourself. And while you're pulling your energy back, she'll feel it too. She might not understand what's changed, but she'll feel the absence. Because energy doesn't disappear, it transforms. The current that once flowed toward her now flows into you, feeding your growth, your focus, your balance. And when that happens, she begins to wonder where her power went, why the world suddenly feels quieter, why her confidence feels thinner. That's the power of reclaiming yourself. You stop orbiting around her, and she starts orbiting around your silence. She thought you would break without her. She expected you to fall apart, to chase, to plead, to crumble under the weight of her absence. That's the pattern she's seen before, men folding when the emotional pressure becomes too much. But this time, something different happens. You don't collapse, you rebuild. You face the emptiness instead of escaping it. You use the pain as fuel instead of proof that you've lost. Because real strength isn't shown when everything's perfect, it's revealed in how you rise after everything falls apart. You start walking through the fire instead of avoiding it. The gym becomes your therapy, the silence becomes your mirror, and every setback becomes a lesson. You start sharpening your focus, your discipline, your purpose. The version of you that once sought comfort now seeks challenge. You stop asking, why did she leave, and start asking, what am I building from this? That's when the shift happens, when your growth becomes undeniable, when your energy changes from wounded to grounded. And as you evolve, she feels it. She may not say it, but deep down, she senses the transformation. You stop existing in her past and begin to haunt her future. Because she starts realizing that the man she thought would fall apart has become the man she could never contain. That awareness burns quietly inside her, growing heavier with time. It's not revenge, and it's not about proving her wrong, it's about proving yourself right. When you rebuild with focus and fire, you don't need to chase validation. You become it. You become the calm after the storm, the man who faced destruction and still stood tall. And in that stillness, she finally sees what she lost, not the man who needed her, but the one who became untouchable without her. Most men rush to fill the silence when she leaves. They post updates, send messages, try to show that they're fine, or even pretend to be thriving. They think if they can demonstrate their happiness, their value, or their control, she will notice and regret walking away. But what they fail to understand is that silence, when wielded with intention, is far louder than any post, text, or message could ever be. Silence becomes a presence of its own, it speaks without words, commands attention without effort, and creates a space where absence becomes unforgettable. You don't disappear to punish her, you disappear to protect your energy, to honor your growth, and to show that your life doesn't revolve around her choices. By letting her sit in the silence she created, you allow her to feel the void of your absence in ways she cannot ignore. She will begin to hear what life sounds like when your voice no longer fills the space, no longer comforts her doubts, no longer validates her choices. At first, she may mistake the quiet for indifference or peace, but over time, the stillness becomes a reflection of what she lost. She starts to notice the subtle shifts, the moments when she wants to reach out but hesitates, the nights when she longs for conversation, the times she scrolls and realizes your name is no longer part of her digital world. This is not a game, nor a strategy to manipulate her feelings. It is the power of self-possession. By holding your silence, you are showing that your life moves forward regardless of her decisions. And in that absence, she begins to feel what words could never deliver, your stability, your independence, your refusal to be shaken. The quiet becomes louder than any explanation. It becomes the proof that you are untouchable, that your energy is yours, and that what once was familiar now holds a weight she cannot ignore. You don't make her miss you by showing up everywhere. Liking her posts, replying instantly, being visible at every turn, those actions only reinforce predictability, familiarity, and accessibility. Presence without boundaries is not strength, it is exposure. True power is found in absence with intention. When you stop reacting to every thought, every message, every impulse, you create a gravity of your own. You stop orbiting around her world and start commanding your own. She begins to sense that something has changed, not through words, but through energy, through the way your silence resists intrusion. She starts to feel uncertainty, and uncertainty is magnetic. It draws attention, it breeds curiosity, and it ignites thoughts she can't easily dismiss. Most men mistake chasing for power. They think that by staying present, by being predictable, by showing constant engagement, they maintain control. But control isn't invisibility, it's in unpredictability. It's in the ability to show up selectively, in the decision to guard your energy, and in the refusal to be measured by anyone else's timeline. When you stop being predictable, you stop being another chapter in her story, you start being the unknown that lingers in her mind. The magic of intentional absence is that it cultivates curiosity without manipulation. You are not playing a game, you are not seeking revenge, and you are not trying to make her jealous. You are choosing yourself over reaction. You are protecting your energy while allowing the natural laws of human attention and emotion to take their course. She begins to wonder where you are, what you are doing, and why you no longer orbit her world. That uncertainty is irresistible because the mind is wired to chase what it cannot fully understand. By stepping back, by reclaiming your presence for yourself alone, you create a gravitational pull she cannot resist. Power, after all, is not being everywhere, it's being unavailable, intentional, and undeniable. Maybe she didn't leave because of who you were, but because of who you stopped being. Somewhere along the way, the spark that drew her in dimmed. You stopped leading your own story, stopped being exciting, stopped living a life that demanded attention. Now is the moment to reclaim all of that. Fill your life with motion, purpose, and vision so full that even if she reaches out, your attention is not easily given. Not out of pride, but because your life has grown bigger than her presence. When your days are packed with discipline, learning, movement, and ambition, you stop orbiting her energy. You stop seeking her validation, her approval, and her notice. Your mornings are not dictated by whether she texts or posts. Your nights are not haunted by what she might be doing. Instead, your world is fueled by your own passions, your own growth, and your own achievements. This is the type of life that creates energy she cannot ignore, a life where you are complete, grounded, and moving forward regardless of her decisions. The irony is that women don't return to words, messages, or explanations, they return to energy. They return to a man who has evolved, who no longer depends on their attention, whose worth is self-contained. When she sees that you are no longer a shadow of your past, she begins to question what she lost. And it's not because you chased her or made her feel guilty, it's because your life became too magnetic, too full, too undeniable for her to resist noticing. By building a life that cannot be interrupted, you create an energy that speaks louder than any conversation. You become the man whose absence is not empty, but abundant. She will feel it. She may not know exactly why, but she will know something has shifted. That is the power of a life too full to chase anyone. It turns absence into attraction, independence into gravity, and growth into inevitability. You can't rush emotional gravity. You can't force her to feel your absence today, tomorrow, or even next week. Feelings don't follow schedules, and the heart cannot be manipulated into recognition. Time, when used correctly, is your ally. It allows silence to grow heavier, absence to become noticeable, and curiosity to take root in ways that no words or explanations ever could. Every scroll past an old photo, every moment she notices your name is missing from her world, adds weight to what she once had but no longer holds. Patience is not weakness, it is strategy, it is power, and it is evolution. When you resist the urge to break the silence, to check in, or to remind her that you exist, you are creating space for reflection. She will start noticing the patterns she took for granted, the energy you brought into her life, the stability you provided, and the presence she believed she could always rely on. Without your constant engagement, she begins to feel the void. That void is heavy, uncomfortable, and undeniable. And because the human mind is drawn to what is missing, her thoughts will naturally circle back to you. This is not manipulation, and it is not a game. It is the natural effect of being fully invested in yourself rather than chasing validation from someone who has left. By allowing time to do its work, you transform absence into presence. You let the quiet speak for itself, making every word you once spoke feel smaller in comparison to the energy you now radiate. When she realizes you didn't chase, didn't explain, didn't plead, she will start questioning everything. That questioning is the beginning of awareness, the start of curiosity, and the recognition of your transformation. Time, in its silent, persistent way, becomes the tool that words never could. It forces her to reckon with your absence, and in that reckoning, she begins to feel the weight of what she lost. The moment you stop needing her to notice you, to regret leaving, or to return is the moment everything changes. That's when you step into true freedom. You no longer live to be remembered, to be validated, or to prove a point, you live to be reborn. Your energy becomes self-sufficient, your focus unshakable, and your presence undeniable. There is no more chasing, no more explaining, no more bending yourself to fit someone else's expectations. You stop trying to fix her perception of you and start rebuilding your foundation. You become complete in your own right, grounded in your own purpose, and magnetic in your self-containment. When you choose yourself, you become dangerous not because you're cold, heartless, or unfeeling, but because you are whole. You are no longer dependent on anyone else to define your value or your happiness. That independence radiates, and it cannot be ignored. Ironically, the moment you detach fully, when you embody your own power and stop living in her orbit, she may come back, but by then, you may not even want her. And that is the paradox. Your growth and freedom create the very distance she once resisted, and in that distance lies your power. She wasn't the test, she was the lesson. The real victory never came from getting her back, it came from getting yourself back. Every step of silence, every moment of self-reclamation, every ounce of energy redirected inward built the man she could not erase. That's the truth of transformation. Power is not in making someone notice, it is in becoming someone unforgettable, someone impossible to replace, someone whose energy leaves an imprint long after words have faded. When you choose yourself, you no longer chase what's meant to find you. You attract it naturally, effortlessly, and irrevocably. Silence becomes your evolution, absence your power, and self-mastery your ultimate triumph.